everyone, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you tuning in. It's been a little while since I posted a video, so for those who are an active subscriber, my apology. The wife and I recently moved, as you may or may not know. My name is Ron, my wife is Melissa. We run this channel, and a lot of what we post here has to do with the DJI products, specifically as of lately the DJI Mavic Air, and also have done some previous videos on the DJI Spark. So a lot of what you're going to find on this channel relates to those drones and the DJI products. You can notice that the setup's a little bit different. I'm not in my kitchen, so this is a little nicer. I actually have a big desk set up here, which makes it a lot nicer for shooting the videos. So anyway, that being said, today was some great footage, really nice day out. I took the Mavic Air out for a flight. We just had a nor'easter come through, so I had some really beautiful footage today flying around the Raritan River here in New Jersey. And I think the video should come out. I haven't looked at the footage yet, but I think it's going to come out pretty good. And that being said, there was a recent update to the DJI Mavic Air, which when I launched my Mavic Air earlier today, obviously popped up on my phone. I got the alert for the new firmware release. So let's dive into that. So if you're not familiar with the firmware updates that you receive, you can actually find more information on them when you go to the DJI forum. Simply go to DJI website, DJI.com, go to their main website. You have to create a user account here. If you're not an active subscriber, you can log in. Actually, I'm already logged in, but from here you would just go to their support page, go down to forum, and you'll be logged right in. From here, you have different headings: Spark, Mavic Air, Phantom. So I have the Mavic, so go there. And it's actually, the way that this forum's set up right now, it looks like they've got a couple different sections, but you're not going to find it under here, Mavic Air. I noticed for some reason it's not listed there. But off the main page, if you go to announcements, you're going to see here, Mavic Air firmware released as of March 21st, strongly recommended. And if we go here, we'll see a little more detail about what this firmware is. What this firmware is about. So you can see this was released on the 21st, aircraft firmware version 01.00.0300. So this is a remote controller firmware update and an aircraft update. So you're updating both the aircraft and the remote controller. When you update the aircraft, you also want to update any batteries that you have for your DJI Mavic Air. It's not thoroughly explained. There is actually, off of this link further down, there's some videos, tutorial videos, if you're not familiar with how to do the firmware updates. But one of the things that these videos don't mention is the intelligent flight battery. So if you have more than one battery, like I do, I have 3 batteries, make sure you apply the firmware update to each one of your batteries. Very simple to do. You know, do the update with one of the batteries installed, power it off, put the new battery in, power back up. You'll get notification on your DJI GO 4 app, or if you're doing it with the DJI Assist 2, you'll get notification to do all your batteries. I mentioned that because again, it's not listed in these videos, it's tutorial videos, but it is in the manual. So let's get into what they did on here. So this is the DJI GO 4 app iOS version 4.2.8. And if you have DJI GO 4 app Android, it's also 4.2.8. So what did they do? So what's new? So they increased the descent speed to 3 meters per second when flying forward. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't actually have the specifics on what the speeds were. I was actually looking at the, just type this in DJI, at the Mavic Air specs sheet. And here it is. So if you go to their specs on this page, you're going to see it's 3 meters per second in S mode, 1 meter per second in P mode, 1 meter per second Wi-Fi mode. So I guess, I don't have a clear understanding, but I guess that they made 3 meters per second for all 3 of these. Again, it's not clear from the description. I posted something to the forum earlier today, and I'm not sure if anybody had responded yet. So increase descent speed 3 meters per second when flying forward. So if you're descending the Mavic Air, just notice there may be a slight difference in the speed from what you're accustomed to when you do this update. They also added support for operating at 5.8 gigahertz in Thailand. Probably doesn't affect most of us, unless you're in Thailand. Obviously, I'm in the US. Fixed an issue where the gimbal would drift when the aircraft's headings change. Fixed an issue where the aircraft would shake when using active track. They added a message if failure to take panoramas or an asteroid quick shot occurs, and they're saying requires DJI GO 4 version 4.2.8 and higher. They fixed an issue where the remote controller was unable to link with the aircraft when operating in some regions. They fixed an issue where the aircraft would fail to take panorama in sports mode or when APAS was enabled. Fixed an issue where intelligent flight battery firmware would not be updated when functioning abnormally. They don't give any specifics on that, but something to be aware of if you're having that issue. Fixed an issue of video lag when the aircraft's heading changes. Fixed an issue of ghosting in photos, and fixed an issue where the aircraft would fail to decelerate automatically when landing. So a lot of looking at this, substantial updates, definitely something that you want to install. I'm going to install it myself this evening. Haven't tested it. Was on the forums. From what I can tell, everything looks good for those that have used it. So I can recommend, based on what I'm seeing, that it's probably an update that you want to try. I'm not seeing reports of any real issues with this update. And some very specific notes to keep in mind. Restart the aircraft and remote controller after the upgrade is complete. Please note that the firmware update may reset various main controller settings, such as the return to home altitude and maximum flight distance, to the factory defaults. Important to remember. So again, if you do these firmware updates, and I would recommend this for any firmware update, even though they note it here, to kind of take note of what your settings are. If you're less familiar with your settings, you know, jot them down before you do the firmware update so you know what they were, you know, pre and post. For me, I pretty much know what my settings are, so I would, again, before I take the Mavic Air for another flight, do a pre-check, check all my settings, go through everything, make sure it's where I left it. They're saying before the update, take note of your preference for DJI GO 4 settings and readjust them after the update to suit preferences. The firmware update resets the camera settings, so keep that in mind. If you have camera settings and you're shooting at 1080p, or 4K or 2.7, whatever you're shooting at, go through your camera settings. It may default back to auto versus manual if you want to, you know, adjust everything yourself. If the firmware update fails, restart the aircraft, remote controller, DJI GO 4 app, or DJI Assist 2 and retry. So again, significant updates. Strongly recommend everyone install this if you haven't already. It's not something that popped up on my radar immediately. As I think I mentioned earlier, when I was flying today, I got the notice on my phone, which is always a little frustrating. Ideally, what I like to do is install the firmware before I take it out. There haven't been any recent updates in a while, so this kind of will surprise me when I took the Mavic Air out today and noticed that there was a firmware update. I didn't update while I was out in the field. Decided I was going to wait till tonight to make the update. Keep that in mind. You don't have to make the updates just because you get the alert. You can ignore them and install them later, or check the forums, DJI forum, and see what people are reporting. Make sure that you're, you know, there's not additional issues being caused by the updates. A lot of times you get a firmware update which causes another issue. So, you know, sometimes it's a good time to wait. Sometimes it's a good idea to wait 2 or 3 days to see what people are reporting before you make the update on your quad. So for those of you who are less familiar with how to make the firmware updates, there's 2 tutorial videos here within the DJI website. I'm going to leave the links below to get here. So if you want to check these videos out, if you're less familiar with how to do this, look below in the description. I'll put links. You can click on the links. It'll take you right to these pages, and hopefully you'll find them useful. So again, one is for how to do the update to the Mavic Air firmware with the DJI GO 4 app. That's what I do. That's my preference. The other is the DJI Mavic Air update firmware using DJI Assist 2. That's where you connect your Mavic Air to your computer and use the DJI Assist app with a cable connection directly to the Mavic Air. So whatever's your preference, I prefer using the DJI GO 4 app. And remember to update every one of your intelligent flight batteries when you make this update. Otherwise, you're going to get an incompatibility error message after you switch out your batteries if you only updated one battery, not all of them. Just something to keep in mind. So that's it for today. I appreciate everyone who's an active subscriber. If you're not an active subscriber, please think about subscribing. And if you are an active subscriber, we're getting really close to 2,000 subscribers. I really appreciate everyone who's been supporting the channel. So thank you very much. Until next time, happy flying.